What's up, guys? It is Sam here, and it is Saturday morning. We have a killer video. This is the YouTube rankings of the Democratic candidates of their YouTube channel. So we took 4 different factors: the number of subscribers over the last 30 days, the number of views over the last 30 days, and the growth rate in both of those factors. We took an average of all of that to come up with an overall ranking to understand what the collective of America is actually interested in on the number 2 biggest site on the frickin' planet. So with that being said, if this is your first time here, what's good? My name is Sam, and for those of you who are returning, it's good to frickin' see you. Let's get into it. By the way, you'd better be pressing that thumbs up button if this is your second time here. So what do we have here? This is where we gather the data. This is from Social Blade. Social Blade tracks social profiles across different social networks. So you can see on the drop down here, we've got a bunch of different social networks. What we're looking at today is each candidate's YouTube channel. So I pulled up Andrew Yang's here, and what we did is we looked at this, the total number of subscribers over the last 30 days. YouTube started actually rounding these off to the nearest 1,000 for anybody who's over 1,000, at least from the reporting through the API that Social Blade can get. So that's why it's not an exact 12,000 and change. It's just a 12,000 number until it gets to 13,000, or maybe there's a rounding if it's really close. But then we took a look at the total number of views over the last 30 days. By the way, check this out. Yesterday, today is the 14th, December 14th. Yesterday on the 13th, he had 3.1 million views. And after this, I'm going to be doing a YouTube analysis, like a super fucking deep dive into Andrew Yang's YouTube channel and what is going on, because they actually took my advice from the video about a month and a half ago and they started implementing it. Although it's very early stages on that. So if you want to see that video, make sure you press that subscribe button and that little bell notification so when that video drops, you can be the first to check it out. Okay, the next we took a look at is the subscriber growth. So we take 134 divided by 122 minus 1, and we took the growth rate also in the total number of views over the last 30 days. And I stacked ranked the candidates 1 through 10 in each one of these 4 categories. So if you have the most number of subscribers, you're 1, right? If you have the most number of views, you're number 1. If you have the highest growth rate, you're number 1. If you have the highest growth rate in views, you're number 1. And then we took an average of all these numbers to really try to understand what the collective of Americans are thinking about, because what we, and I laugh because I'm about to show you guys some data. So if you guys understand how things currently work in terms of polling, if you go to Real Clear Politics, the latest poll that came out from The Economist, YouGov poll, this is December 7th and December 10th, so this is relatively recent, right? In the last 4 days this came out, and I can't scroll down anymore, so let me just make this a little bit bigger. But what we have here, number of respondents, 1,500. And that's what's reported on as 1,500 people's opinion is supposed to represent the collective understanding of what Americans are interested in. It's fucking laughable. Like, seriously, I've studied statistics for years. And to try to think that this is a better way of doing it, I'm not saying my way is the right way, but I think we should at least have that conversation. And I think some derivative of what I'm doing could be the best way to handle it. Right? But 1,500 people to represent over 300 million, the opinion, that's just, what? Like, just, what? This is how we get into the situations we're in. So I think that it's about time we bring some awareness around this and have the conversation that possibly in 2019 going into 2020, there just might be a better way of handling this. Nothing wrong with The Economist or YouGov or any of that shit, but like a poll of 1,500 people, come on guys, like we have the data right in front of us. Let's just use that. And I took all of those 4 factors and the stack ranking and I put it into a spreadsheet and came up with this. So the top 5 candidates for YouTube channels are Andrew Yang, Tulsi Gabbard, Pete Buttigieg, Bernie Sanders, and Joe Biden. It's kind of interesting because we have the 3 younger people all polling better on here. Kind of interesting, right? We're going to dive into the numbers, but I don't know, that just, from like through doing this research and just my like the essence of what I get through like the intuition I'm building through doing this research is that most of the candidates think, at least through their actions, right? I don't know what they actually think, but through their actions, I can see that most of them appear to think that the internet, social, is a inferior way of getting their message out to the public. So I'm not going to give my opinion on that. Let's just take a look what's happening around the world. Countries are changing, governments are changing across the world. We see riots in Hong Kong. We see all this crazy shit happening around the world. Through gathering the attention of the collective, I'm like getting goosebumps because I know this is true and nobody else, these people are running for president and they don't realize this. The only person that appears to slightly be getting this, and the video I'm going to touch on after this one around Andrew Yang, is Andrew Yang. And it's not on every single platform that I've noticed so far, but we're going to do a series where we deep dive into a lot of his social specifically because he seems to be the only one who is actually taking it seriously. Think about if you're trying to sell hot dogs on your little cart, right? And you come over to Walmart and you come over there and you're going to sit right in front where everybody is, assuming you have permit and permission from Walmart, where everybody's coming in and out of the store to like get a hot dog or hamburger or whatever it is you're trying to sell. Or are you going to take your cart and walk all the way around the back of Walmart by the trash can and fucking plop yourself down there and hope to sell a lot of shit? That's what's happening with the fucking real world versus the internet. It's pretty laughable to me because this is what I do. Like, this is what I pay attention to. And to see that people actually think that it's more effective to get the message out in the physical world, yes, that is important. I'm not negating that even slightly. But that message that you tell in the real world, every single interaction, all that stuff needs to be put online because the amplification through paid distribution and organic distribution is ridiculous, right? If you can go see a couple hundred people a day in the physical world, now take that, make that into content, and you can hit fucking 7 million people. Or if you don't know what you're doing online yet and you're just starting, you can still hit probably 100,000 people, or get at least 100,000 impressions per day. Like, it's just, it blows my mind. And if you want to get elected, you have to get your message out. That's how you win, right? You have to be good enough and you have to be able to tell it to enough people. And this is the first time in history where we have the opportunity to allow the best person to actually succeed, right? Because the person who understands, I'm not going to say best, let's rephrase that. We have the opportunity to have a better, potentially higher quality candidate, or we have a candidate that just understands how the world has shifted, right? Like, we used to just be one way of communicating through like television and newspapers and radio. This is 2019. Come on. Let's dive into the numbers. Enough of me ranting. All right, so what do we have here? Well, the first let's take a look at the scoring first. Overall scoring on this is, we're going to start at the lowest, the growth rates. The growth rates are only represented by 20% of the overall score. Each one of them represents 10% of the weighting. The reason for that is because growth rate tells an interesting story. However, if you are growing, like look at, for example, we've got Pete Buttigieg, who's grown in the last 30 days, excuse me, in the last 30 days on his number of views, he's grown 111%. That's amazing, right? 111% growth in a 30-day period on an annualized basis. Those numbers are just stupid. And that's important. However, look at his views. He's got 750,000 views. Look at Andrew Yang. He's got like 6 times that. So it is important, but the channel size is also important. The total number of views are important. So that's why the growth rates in both the subscribers and the views only represent 10% each. So combined 20% of the overall score. The next category is the number of subscribers, and this represents 30% weighting in our overall score. And similarly to the views, the total number of subscribers is a little bit more important in my interpretation and the logic or intuition is that you're having more people subscribe. So we'll take another example here. Look at this. Julian Castro. He's growing at 11% in the last 30 days. He's gained 86 subscribers. So he's growing much quicker than Andrew Yang, right? Andrew Yang is only growing at 9.84%, so he's growing at a whole percentage point faster. But, let's take a look at this. This is a better example. Let's take a look at this. Bernie Sanders is growing at 3%, so he's growing 3 times faster than Bernie Sanders, more than 3 times faster than Bernie Sanders. But Bernie Sanders gained 9,000 followers. Julian Castro gained 86. Like my channel gained probably 400 subscribers in the last 30 days. So like clearly Julian Castro just either is completely oblivious to like reality of like how to get your message out in 2019. His campaigner manager is completely oblivious or clueless or purposely like negligent about trying to like actually win, because like Amy doesn't even have a freaking YouTube channel, right? She's not even trying to sell hot dogs. Like at least Julian's trying to sell them in the trash in the back. Amy's just not even trying. She's in the store shopping, looking at everybody else's shit. She's not trying to get her message out. Like, this is, yeah, I'd love to know what your thoughts are down below in the comment section if you use the hashtag Stolt, which is the name of the channel. At the end of these videos, we do a Q&A where we get into your questions and your thoughts and insight in the end of these videos. So if you use the hashtag Stolt in your comment, I can get into my YouTube analytics and search for hashtag Stolt to find your comment. So let's dive into these numbers a little bit more. We only have 3 candidates who are getting more than 1 million views over the last 30 days. Kind of interesting. Andrew Yang, Tulsi Gabbard has 3.3 million views over the last 30 days. Interesting. Bernie Sanders has 1.6 million. Interesting thing with Bernie Sanders is, look at this. So we started this ranking in September, right? On September 1st was the first time we did this ranking. Bernie Sanders was 2nd place, right? Then he went to 3rd place, and he held that for 2 months or whatever, right? Then he held it for 2 more rankings. And then in the month of November, Bernie lost another spot. He's holding steady at 4, but is this like a macro trend of him completely losing or moving back? Because check out Biden. Joe Biden's gaining momentum in the other direction. He was 7th, then 6th, now 5th. And he's not sitting and chilling like Bernie is. So I haven't done a deep dive into Joe's strategy on YouTube or Bernie's on YouTube. If you want to see that down below in the comment section, just use the hashtag Stolt so I can see what you guys are interested in. We can always take a look at the data to try to understand some of this stuff. Let's take a look at Elizabeth Warren. Elizabeth Warren's just kind of been sitting there, nothing like in either direction. Julian Castro has moved up a couple spots, but I think that's mainly just because people have dropped out, honestly. Tulsi Gabbard is number 2. So Tulsi's been holding her spot here. She also had the most number of subscribers at 13,000, only followed closely by Yang. So these 3 people, Bernie, Yang, and Tulsi, are the only 3 people who are actually seem to be putting any type of effort into YouTube, because they've also gained the most number of subscribers. Like the next closest person is Pete. Pete's not doing anything on fucking YouTube. He's posting a little bit, but I looked at his channel briefly, but nothing like crazy. This stuff that Yang is doing on his channel is literally what I put out in my deep dive video. If you guys want to check that out on the channel to see what I recommended before I do my next deep dive, you can see that I was like telling them to do this. I had the campaign reach out to me. I hope they took that video and started implementing it. And now, just the other day, they started implementing it. Right? They went from like 100,000 views for the day to up to 3 million. So if they just continue that strategy, they'll fucking win. They'll win. And if your candidate, whoever your candidate might be, goes and watches that video and implements what I talk about in that video, they'll be able to get their message out to way more people. Way more people. And that's what you need to do if you're trying to run for president. You need people's attention. And how do you get people's attention? By talking to more people, getting your message out to more people. That's what I talk about in that video. So if you guys want to check it out, go back to the channel. If you guys want to leave a comment, use the hashtag stole so we can talk about it at the end, just like Crystal did here, where she leaves a comment in regards to our Twitter ranking. You can just go back to the channel, check it out. We also do state rankings. This is the YouTube ranking one, but we do state-specific rankings based on the Google search volume and the YouTube search volume. So Crystal leaves a comment on the Twitter ranking video. Obviously, comments and likes are very important to show attention. Is there a way to measure that too and incorporate into the scores for Twitter and YouTube? Excuse me. Well, now that I'm not working anymore, I mean, at a job, I'm just doing this, even though if you guys want to support this, if you use any of the links in the description, it supports the channel. It's not enough for me to live off of yet, but I have, you know, over a year worth of savings, so we'll see how this plays out. But if you appreciate like what we're doing or like agree with any of it, share the content with somebody, and or like if you don't want to do that, like there's a link in the description. If you have any holiday shopping to do on Amazon, there's a link in the description for mine. So it doesn't cost you anything. It doesn't cost you anything. It just supports the channel. So you go buy whatever the fuck you're going to buy on Amazon. If you're going to use Amazon, don't buy anything you don't need, right? Like I'm 100% into like saving 30, 50, 80% of what I make. And that's allowed me to be in a place where I can quit, and I have over a year's worth of savings, right? But I have some super awesome content coming up too. Now let's get back to Crystal's comment here. Yes, so we do something similar to this in the awareness ranking that we do. That should be out today or tomorrow, in terms of Twitter, YouTube, and Instagram. So we look at the hashtag usage, the number of views. Now the number of comments and likes, I think we incorporate some of that into the awareness ranking, but when I go do the research on that, I will be updating. I also like to share little bits of that as I'm doing it on Twitter. So if you guys want to jump over to Twitter and say what's good, sometimes it's a little bit easier to get into the conversation, or leave your thoughts or give me ideas, because on Twitter it tends to be easier to see what's happening versus on YouTube. Sometimes the comments are lost. If you leave a response, if I comment back and then you leave a response, I don't always get the notifications on that kind of stuff. Where on Twitter, it's the notification system, the way you can interact with people on Twitter just seems to be a little bit easier. So first of all, thank you so much for the comment, Crystal. I will probably update some of the factors that I'm actually using in the awareness ranking when I do that, because I've got the 3 on there, but I probably will add at least a 4th and potentially change some of the information in there, because I've figured out how to get more data from Social Blade as I'm diving deeper into all of this. Now, thank you for the second comment too, where we this is also from Crystal. Do you have any capability to break down the analytics by various demographics, age, race, gender, socioeconomic, etc.? I know Google Analytics can do this, but I don't know if you'd have access to this information. If not, perhaps this is why the media and political parties still use polls. On the other hand, the campaigns themselves would have access. I think they just use polls just because, like, in my opinion, that's just the way they have done things, and they think it's like the best way of doing things. So there's like, in psychology, there's something called the establishment bias, which the best way I can think of to illustrate that is if you were to get a job in an office and you're the new person and everybody's been working together for 10 years or 15 years, and you go into the office, like, you're the outsider. So the establishment, meaning the people in the office, are probably going to leave you out and stuff, right? Because you're not part of the team necessarily yet. Yes, you're getting a paycheck, but that doesn't mean you're part of the team yet. So I think that is playing out with a lot of what we're seeing with the mainstream media. To, like, I'm trying to give them credit there. I do also think there could be a blatant fucking bias where people intentionally do things, which could be part of it. I'm trying to be optimistic here and just say that the majority of it could be coming from the establishment bias, but I don't know. Now, in terms of the other data, what we can do, and let me know if you guys are interested, use the hashtag stole in the comments, but I have all my data. on my YouTube channel. So I could potentially dive into some of the analytics and the demographics, age, and all that kind of stuff in my analytics that I have on my YouTube channel. If you guys are interested in that, let me know. I did do a couple videos on this about a month and a half ago, right after I started posting about political stuff in Andrew Yang. So if you guys want to check that out, go back to the channel. If you would like to see me do a video on that, let me know down below in the comment section. Don't forget to use hashtag Stoll, please. It's easier, way easier for me to find any of this. The next is from, actually, this is from Russ. Thank you, Russ. I actually talked about your comment in the other one, in the other video I did. So we're going to just skip down here, Russ. Thank you so much for the comment and the support. I really do appreciate it. And this is in reference to the Iowa rankings based on the YouTube and Google search volume in the state of Iowa, where we compare that to the Real Clear Politics ranking. And he's mentioned, yeah, Biden uptick due to negative news curiosity. Probably bad for him long run. It could be. So I have a theory, and it's based on the data that I'm actually seeing. Like, I've been curious about doing stuff online for a long time. I've been observing what people are doing online, to like which players online are gaining ground, which players online are winning, which ones are like really excelling and growing rapidly, and what are they doing. And what I've noticed, right, and I'm going to use an example. Think back to the Kardashians, whenever it was that they came onto the scene, and there was a tremendous amount of like skepticism and negativity around them, and that's kind of perpetuated like what's happened with them, right? Just perpetual drama and news around them. But what happens with attention is it's sticky. I think we touched on this in a different comment, Russ. But I think in the long run, if you're good enough, the additional attention is going to be, whether it's negative or positive, is going to be a good thing. I think you have to lay that on whether you're good enough, right? Because if you're not good enough and people can see that there's just no authenticity to what you're saying and you're just fucking bullshit, like, I don't think you're going to win in the long run. In the micro, yes, you're probably, that attention is going to be sticky. Some of it's going to be sticky. But I think in the macro, you're going to potentially lose. So I don't know how sticky that will be in terms of the longevity. Like, we could see an uptick, because I've seen an uptick in a bunch of Joe Biden's numbers that we've been going through on a national level and the statewide level. I've seen an uptick in his attention. And I don't know if it's in regards to that video where he was calling somebody fat, or if it's like, as Crystal pointed out in one of her comments the other day, that some people might actually think that's like a good thing. To me, it doesn't come off as a good thing. Like, level up your shit, bro. Like, if you're calling somebody fat, then you got something wrong up here, to think that that's actually talking more about you than it is about how broken the person is inside if you can't handle their comments, right? So if you come at me and I'm like, you're a fucking douche, and just like, you know, like, fuck your mom or whatever the case is, like, all that's saying is just how broken I am inside. Like, issues that I have, in my opinion, right? So when I see this in terms of candidates, and specifically Joe Biden responding in this fashion, it's like, I don't want this fucking person running my country. I could see how other people might want it and think like, oh, he's sticking up for his family, it's okay. No, level up the conversation, bro. It's 2019. That's not how we do things. The next comment, I don't know, what are your thoughts? Like, let me know. Use the hashtag Stoll. Star Trek theory, cry racism if you must, but isn't Tulsi Gabbard a Hindu? I have no idea. Somebody let me know. Use the hashtag Stoll so I can see it. That might be something in Iowa. Did Trump, Romney, or Obama do well in early Iowa? So guys, interesting. This actually brought me up to another idea that I'm working on. And now that I'm not working at a job anymore, this coming week I should have something out around this. But what I want to do is, this election that just passed, or potentially the 2016 election, we're going to do a ranking, and we're going to retroactively look at the data. We won't be able to see all of it, but we can on YouTube. YouTube and Google search volume. So what we're going to do is put together a test, right? We saw that fucking Trump won, right? So the test is going to say like, oh, is Trump winning on the Google search volume and on the YouTube search volume? And we'll see this. And I'm going to put together a nice video on that. So thumbs up for that. And I really appreciate anybody who does support the channel. This is day number 1 of me just doing online stuff full time. So if you want to follow along, every single day I'm posting on Instagram or TikTok and growing on every single platform, because I know it's attention. Attention is the currency of 2019 and the future. It's not the other stuff, it's the attention. If you have the attention of people, you can have an impact. You can meet whoever you want. And if you want fucking money, you can get money. So I know that it's about the attention. So anyways, the point of it is that on every single platform, I'm going to be doubling up the amount of, at least doubling up the amount of content that I'm producing. So say, for example, I'm doing 1.5 videos per day on average over a 30-day period. Double that to at least 3. And I also have another channel that I'm working on. I've actually had out for a while, but I'm going to talk more about the SARMs and other types of drugs on that one, because I don't want this channel taken down. So I'm going to talk about it on the other channel. It's substantially smaller, because if it gets taken down, that stuff's interesting me and I want to talk about it. So I want to put that on a separate place, just in case YouTube or Google decides that, like, oh, we don't like people who talk about that kind of stuff, even though it's just talking about my opinion. I'm not recommending you guys do anything I talk about in these videos or in those videos that I will be posting. Appreciate you guys. Don't forget to subscribe. Peace.